This community is not just core.
Hey everybody, I'm Coach Rebecca, and today I am going to do a little Q&A. Because I have gotten the same question multiple times this week. I'm going to talk to athletes who are on the verge of quitting. And I know that like every single athlete at some point, myself included, has had that thought of, do I want to keep doing this? And I know a lot of parents out there have also had that thought of, how long do we need to keep doing this? So I'm going to talk to mostly the athletes today, but then at the end, I'll give the parents a couple of tips as well. So this is kind of like a synopsis of the questions that I've been getting over the last couple of days. So I got a DM yesterday. I also talked to another coach or another athlete over the last couple of days who is in a very similar situation. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to try to like DM this back because I have too many thoughts. So here we go. So this athlete in the DM said she was totally sure she was going to quit last season. She even told her coaches, and then she kept training through the summer just to stay in shape. And next thing you know, she is still training for another season, even though it was not what she really wanted. And she said her coaches moved her up a level, which she did not feel ready for. And ever since, she's been loving gymnastics less and less. And now she feels like she's starting to resent it. And she wants to love it again, but she doesn't. And she's scared to quit because she doesn't want to regret it. She's afraid it might be too hard to come back later if she does walk away. And then another athlete who I talked to had actually quit. And then she came back because she missed it so much. And she kind of dropped the bar on expectations. It was like, you know what, I'm here for fun. Let's not compete this season. And she was having a good time. And now the clock is starting to tick on that competition season. And she's starting to question, is this what I want to do? So I want to say, first of all, you are not alone. I mean, throw a comment on here and let me know if you have ever considered quitting in the off season when you're like, wow, this next level that I'm training for feels maybe impossible. It feels like a lot. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the skills in time. Am I good enough? Am I going to let people down? There's a lot that goes into it. You start off upgrade season and you're like, hey, upgrades, how fun. And then you get into it and you're like, these skills are big and I need to do this how soon, and am I going to be able to pull this off? So I understand this intimately because I quit in the summer. I quit right before my first level 7 meet, actually. And actually, no, it was in the summer. So there was a ways to go, but I had a routine. I had ordered the bag and the leotard, and I had, we had invested all of the money, and I got to the end of that summer and was like, I can't do it. The back handspring on the beam is too scary. The giants are too scary. I don't know if I'm going to do the layout or if I'm not going to do it. And so I was up against a lot of fear, which was the reason that I ended up walking away. And I was in pain. My back hurt all the time. My ankles hurt all the time. My wrists hurt all the time. I was in fear and pain all the time. And then I had this deadline that was staring me down. And I was just like, it's too much. I can't do it. So I walked away because I said I wanted a social life. I wanted more time for homework, which is not the truth because I never wanted more time for homework. And anyway, that's a whole nother story. But I told myself I wanted a social life. And I look back and go, was this because I wanted more time to do my homework, or was it because I did not believe in myself? And so that's the question you want to ask yourself. If you're on the verge and you're like, do I want to keep going? Is it because it feels too hard? Is it because it feels too painful? Is it because it feels too scary? So if you had no pain, no fear, and no deadlines, how would you feel about your sport? If you knew you were there for the sole purpose of setting a goal and reaching it. And that doesn't mean setting a goal of level 10 for this season. It means today I want to get better at my cast handstand. Today I want to get my series on the low beam. Can you feel excited about setting a little miniature goal and making progress toward it? So I'm going to go through basically 4 questions that will help you to decide if, in fact, it is time for you to be done. Okay. So the first question to ask yourself, why did you get started in the first place? Or for someone who has returned to the sport, why did you come back? Why did you miss it? So think for yourself, why did you start? For me, I was doing flips on my dad's bed day in and day out. I could not be stopped on the trampoline. I needed to be inverted at all times. I needed to be climbing things, jumping off things. And so I loved to be in the gym. And then once I got in there, I wanted to get better at stuff. And I wanted to be the best. And I wanted to have the best pointed toes. And I wanted to have the straightest legs. And I loved the pursuit of getting better. And then I got put on the team and I didn't do the very best and I just wanted to do better. And then I started to do better and I wanted some medals. And then I started to do better and I wanted to win. And then it was like, okay, now I got to get more levels and more things. And so it's like, whoa, we forget about why did we start this thing? So ask yourself, why? Was it because you had those moments of flow where you felt so in control and like you were doing incredible things and you took those leaps of faith and they paid off and you landed that skill after 5, 6 months, 3 years of training it, you did it? I mean, those are the moments where you're like, whoa, I'm incredible. Okay, so ask yourself, why did you start? And is that still there? Did you start because your friends were there? Are your friends still there? Okay, second question, is it burnout or are you actually done? So burnout is a temporary feeling that happens when you are doing something for somebody else. If you're doing it because it's what you've always done, if you're doing it because your mom is super invested in it, if you're doing it because your coaches would be really sad if you left, that's going to lead to burnout. And you're going to have this exhaustion. You're going to lack joy. You're going to be dreading it. You're going to feel tired. You're going to be hyper-focused on what hurts. Whereas if you are done, and I've talked to athletes like this in one-on-one sessions where they're just like totally at peace. There isn't doubt. They're like, no, I mean, like, I just feel like I've run my course. And honestly, you guys, this was the way that I felt when I was 14 and I walked away from my sport. I felt done. And that was the weird thing is I was like, this doesn't make any sense to quit right now. I'm so excited about my new floor routine. I've always wanted to be an optional gymnast. I was about to have that dream come true and I felt done. So yes, I was afraid. Yes, my back hurt. Yes, there were deadlines and there were big skills, but I really did truly feel complete. Like I had done what I was there to do. And I was able to walk away and feel like, yeah, I just feel done. That's the thing I kept saying to my mom. And so I look back and go, I wish that I would have had the tools to work through fear. I wish I would have had the tools to communicate better about how my body felt and to have, PT in my life so that I wasn't constantly in pain. But it is what it is. And honestly, it's part of my journey that makes me who I am today. And the fact that I walked away because of my fear makes me just that much better to help other athletes through fears. Regardless of what you choose, if you choose to walk away, people think I can never come back. But it's not true. I've seen athletes start gymnastics at 18 and then are like competing Excel gymnastics at 25. So don't tell me that you're going to be too old or whatever. If you want to do your sport, you can do your sport. There are ways to do it. Chelsea Memel has a camp for you. You can come back when you're an adult if you decide that you want to. Okay, the third one, what do you want? Not your coaches, not your parents, not your schedule, not your past self, not your teammates. What do you want? Oh, yes, Tana's asking, were you at the Tumble Time summer camp? I was. That was so fun. Nice to see you here. Sorry, squirrel. So what do you want? And so what I did with an athlete recently was we sat down. Oh, there's my dog. She's got to chime in too. And I asked, what is your dream scenario? Okay, so this athlete was like, well, I kind of only want to train 3 days a week and I kind of only want to train 3 hours a day. And I kind of don't think I want to do that high of a level because I definitely don't want to do this series. And this skill on the bars is like not working for my body anymore. And so I was like, awesome. Okay, like what if we as athletes could go, this is what I want to do in my sport. What a concept, right? I actually don't want to do that series. I think I'd like to try this one. I actually don't think I'd like to do that level. What if I did this one instead? What if you truly checked in with yourself and was like, this would be fun. This is what I want. I want to be with my friends. I want to be a leader. I want to learn this skill. I want to do this. And maybe I don't even want to compete. I mean, I know I'm like, you guys are like, what? It is possible that you could have a different type of gymnastics. It is possible, I'm telling you. And the reason I say this is I have a friend who's a coach in North Carolina who's hosting one of our awesome Confident Gymnast camps this summer, Coach Vahid at Unify Athletics. And he has a team full of athletes who graduate high school on the team. And the reason that they do that is because whether or not they're continuing to rise through levels throughout their high school experience, they are contributing to their team. And what they contribute to is some of them are leaders. Some of them are hard workers. Some of them are incredible score getters. Some of them are really funny and they keep it light. But every kid on the team has a role. So they are all contributing to their team, even if they don't all compete. I know I might ruffle some feathers with that one. And then there's also Excel. The Excel program is phenomenal. And I worked with a couple athletes last year who got just kind of slowed down by injuries. They were crazy talented. They got injured. And then they had fear as a result of the injury. And then they got through the fear. And then they got injured again. And then they got scared again. And they never fell out of love with their sport. And one athlete decided, I still want to get recruited for college. I'm taking a gap year. I love it. Creativity, right? She's like, I'm good enough. I can do this. And the other one was like, I'm good enough. I can do it. But I think I don't want to. I want to do Excel. And then she went and she excelled in the Excel track and really found her love and joy again for competing because she was no longer pushing back against all these super difficult skills. So I know I'm like, this isn't what you're used to hearing. But if you are on the verge of quitting something that you love, what if you considered, well, what do I want it to look like? And is there a way within my gym or within a different track in my gym that I can have what I want and still be happy? Okay, then the fourth question that you want to ask yourself is, if you quit today, how would you feel next week or next year? And if you feel like a sense of relief, that's good information, right? If you felt a sense of doubt or regret, that's good information. Your body typically knows the answer to questions that you have. So how would you feel if that was your decision? I like a good pros and cons list, so you can write out pros of staying, cons of staying, pros of leaving, cons of leaving, and then you look at it and you're going to find what are those little crackly things where you're like, but I would really miss my people. And ooh, I really do like the hard work, or I really do like the commitment, or like, I don't know that I like any of it at this point and I just want to be with my friends and play a different sport. So I want to tell you, all of this gets to be okay for you. It has to be your terms or you're going to burn out. So I'm going to challenge you to ask yourself these questions and that will help you on your journey. And you might not know exactly what you want or need to do today, but hopefully that'll give you a guide. So here's what I wish every athlete knew. You don't have to love every second of your sport to be successful. We all have moments, even in my little Pilates athletic career these days, it's been a while since I was on the balance beam. I don't always love it. And I'm like, what the heck? Why did I sign up for this lady again? She's so hard. But then I'm like, oh yeah, I like a challenge. And I keep going and I keep showing up. There's days when I'm tired and I get to learn, I need to get more sleep and I need more protein. Or, I learn when I feel horrible when I'm working out, what needs to change. So those days when you feel horrible give you a lot of clues about what's within your control that you can adjust. One thing I want you to know is that you deserve to feel safe, respected, and like your voice matters. So see if you can collaborate with your coaches. If you're like, gosh, I really think I want to keep going, have a meeting and say, would it be possible to have this look a little bit different for me? And if you're like, Rebecca, the relief I feel when I consider not going anymore is so palpable that's, then you just got to accept, like, anybody who's going to have a problem with you feeling actually totally complete with your sport, that's their problem. That's not your problem. So the best thing you can do is have a voice and share how you're actually feeling. And what else did I want to say? Oh yeah, often athletes fall out of love with their sport when they feel like they can't reach their goals. So I've seen this with athletes who have a lifelong dream of competing in college. And then they have a setback or 2 or 5 or 9. And then they talk to the recruiting experts and they look at kind of where they're at, their skills, their level, their age. And they're like, yeah, I don't know if college is in your future. I've seen this like so many times. And then the athlete completely loses their joy and quits. This happens like all the time. Okay, I have a question coming in. I'm going to answer in just a second so I don't lose my total train of thought. It's gone. So I'm going to, okay, question in the chat here. Should I say something about favoritism? 2 of my teammates are reaching for level 6 and the head coach is pushing one of them and kind of not really helping the other. Okay, so there's another thing that can take the joy out of sport is if there's somebody who is, playing favorites, any kind of like toxic environment. So the question is, should I say something? Well, what do you think you should do? What do you think would be helpful? Sometimes talking to your teammates and just being like, hey, this is not personal. I see how amazing you are. Like, you be the pump up squad, because ultimately a lot of the time you can't control what happens to your teammates. I teach athletes all the time. You want to stay in the column. Like, we make 2 lists. What can I control? What can't I control? You want to be on your list that says controllables. So think about, okay, what can I do to help my teammate in a way that's not going to get any kind of pushback from a coach. And if you're seeing a toxic environment, especially if you're feeling like you're losing your joy, you might consider trying a different environment to see if your fears can get overcome. Oh, we have another question. Marcy says, thoughts on sports psychologists to overcome fears. Okay, Marcy. So I am not a licensed sports psychologist, but I'm a mental performance coach, and all my teammates, coaches on my team are. And what we do is we help come up with a personalized plan. So you figure out what your point A is, which is what can you do? And your point B, what do you want to be able to do? So for example, if you're trying to get to level 7 next season, you start with what you can do, and then you build out what is it going to take to get to there by this deadline. Then we handle all the obstacles. So we figure out for each individual, what are the things that are preventing you from kind of like climbing that ladder to success? Because it's one thing to like, set out here's a plan, which is what coaches can do. Like, we're going to spend a week on this beam, and then we're going to go to that one, then we're going to go to that one. And what mental performance coaches do is we help individualize that process and honestly really teach kids how to advocate for themselves. So step 1, what is happening in my body and what do I need? We help them figure that out. And then how do I communicate that to my coaches in a way that they're going to be able to hear it? So that what they're doing is collaborating between their brain, themselves, their coach, their parents. So when they really find their voice, it helps them to find a lasting confidence. And so this is something, feel free to DM me if you have a specific block that you want to kind of brainstorm. I would love to chat with you about that. Okay. And then, and so this kind of feeds into what I was going to wrap up with, is that this is sometimes if your kid is like, I just don't know, it can help to talk to a mental performance coach to air it out, so to speak, because we have no agenda. My agenda and my allegiance is not to your coach to make you stay. And it's not to your parents to make you keep going. It's not to like, yes, I have to get you out of that toxic environment. Like I have no agenda. And no one on my team does. So what we do is we help be the sounding board. So you can just like show us your pros and cons. Okay, what did you love about it? What didn't you love? What's happening? Are you in pain, fear, or struggling with deadlines? And if those are some of the things that, if those disappeared, how would it feel? So we just kind of help you, round that out. So if you wanted to hop on with any one of me or my coaches, you could schedule a free consultation. Often we have free consultations with kids who are on the fence and can pretty quickly see whether this is like, ooh, you're afraid and in major like brain level resistance mode, or like it seems like a great opportunity for you to have an honest conversation with your parent about how you're truly feeling. So you can schedule that at any time at performhappy.com/consult. Okay, one more question here. Ella says, is it an acceptable goal to stay in the same level and try to get a 10 next season instead of moving up? Yes. Like acceptable by who? That's the thing, is if you would feel excited about staying in your level and like that's your goal, that's how you're stretching yourself. You're like, how close to perfect can I? Can I fully master this level? Rather than, some people really thrive in an underdog situation where they're like playing catch up, and then, oh, we made it by the meet. Oh my gosh, that was so stressful. Some people, that's their like money zone. People like me, not the case. I want to be on the low beam with very pointed toes for a very long time. And by the time I get to the high beam, I cannot miss. So for some people like Ella, if that's you, you might want to stay put. It's sort of like, why are we letting other people's expectations that you should be going a certain pace through certain levels to get to a certain place? Like, says who? If that's fun, like one of the athletes I was working with recently, I was like, let's put an excitement scale on it. So the idea of you training this very high level with very big skills that physically hurt your body and are totally terrifying, and training very hard for a possibility that you might not even make those skills in time and have a very stressful season. What's your excitement level? She's all 2. Like, yeah, right? That sounds like totally terrifying. I'm like, well, what if you aim for this level and you swap this skill and you do that and you talk to your coaches and you train this many hours? And she's like, oh, we're at an 8. I'm like, okay. So sometimes for you, you got to figure out where's your excitement level. And can you have a moment with your coaches where you go, coaches, this is what I'm thinking of trying. And if I'm not going to move up a level, I want to here's what I'm willing to give you. Here's my contribution to your team. I want to be a leader. I'm going to be the hardest working conditioner. I'm going to show up and every day get 1% better so that I can make sure that I am contributing to the team in a way that makes everybody so glad I'm here. Even if my goal isn't to level up this year. Like, how cool would that be as a coach to have an athlete come in and go, I'd like to have this be my role on the team. I want to get a 10. I want to stay put. I want to work hard. I want to motivate others. And I don't think I'm ready to level up. Like, what a concept. So I want you to have permission to let this be your sport, because it is. If you're going to spend however many hours a week doing this, you might as well love it, right? So again, if you want to chat, shoot me a DM at complete_performance on Instagram, or you can schedule a free consultation at performhappy.com/consult. Thank you for the question askers, and I will be back every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, live on Facebook and Instagram to answer your questions. Hope to see you soon. Bye.